Today I'm going to be sharing 3 different meal ideas that we have been enjoying in our family over the cooler weather months. It is finally starting to cool off here, so we are moving into cozy comfort foods. I wait all summer long to be able to enjoy recipes like these once the weather cools off and it's not quite so hot outside. All 3 of these recipes can be made in the Instant Pot, or I have an off-brand Instant Pot, so an electric pressure cooker, or on the stovetop if you choose. The first thing that I am going to be making is a veggie loaded potato soup. So you'll start by cutting up your bacon and cooking that in the either electric pressure cooker on the saute mode or on the stovetop. While that's cooking, you can start to get all of your different vegetables together. So I'm going to dice up an onion to put in there. I like to put carrots and celery in there as well. And then, of course, the potatoes. I really like to add in like the carrots and the celery to this because the potato soup that I grew up eating was pretty much just butter, cheese, and potatoes. So I feel like whenever I add in the celery and carrots, it just adds a little extra nutrition to the potato soup. And since they are cooked down nice and soft, my kids have no issues eating them in this soup. So it ends up being a meal that the entire family enjoys and nobody complains about eating, which is always a huge win. Once the bacon is finished cooking, just take it out of the pot. I always leave the bacon grease in there to saute my vegetables down in. If you have a whole lot of grease in there, you can of course drain some of that off and just reserve like a tablespoon of it. But just throw in your diced up onions, carrots, celery, let them cook down for a minute. Throw your diced up potatoes on top of that. Pour in your chicken broth. I cook this on the soup setting on my pressure cooker for 10 minutes. Once the 10 minutes is up, I go ahead and do a quick release where you just let the steam out all at once. I don't let it depressurize naturally. I do the quick release on it. The potatoes and carrots and everything should be cooked nice and soft by the end. And I just take my potato masher and mash all of those big pieces of potatoes up into smaller bits. You could blend this up with like an immersion blender if, anybody in your family just really doesn't like the bigger pieces of vegetables. I find just mashing it up this way is perfectly fine. And then I like to pour in either a little heavy cream or half and half just to add to the creaminess of it. We top it with a little bit of shredded cheddar cheese and bacon, and it is so good. Like I said, everybody in my family loves this potato soup. Next up, we are going to do a super quick meal. This is going to be a cheesy chili mac type of dish. This was an evening that I didn't have anything planned. I think it was a Sunday afternoon after church, and I just wanted something super quick to make. I hadn't placed my grocery order yet, so I was just getting out of the pantry things that I had. So we start by, again, dicing an onion, throwing that into the pressure cooker with a pound of ground beef, and then you're going to add in your seasonings and a little bit of minced garlic. While that's cooking down, I like to go ahead and open up my can of beans. I use light kidney beans. I drain those, and then I add in a little bit of tomato paste, probably a tablespoon or so to the cooked meat and onions and garlic. Stir that around, and then you're just going to dump in the rest of your ingredients again. So a can of diced tomatoes, a can of kidney beans, some beef broth. You'll stir that all together, and then you're going to dump in a box of whatever type of pasta you want to use. I prefer the little elbow macaroni noodles. This was, I believe, a 12-ounce box that I poured in there. Put the whole thing in it, stirred it around, pretty much all of the noodles were submerged in there. And then you just put your lid on, cook it for 4 minutes. It doesn't take long for those noodles to cook in a pressure cooker. And then again, you're going to do the quick release option. You don't want to let the pressure stay in there too long, or you're probably going to end up with extremely mushy noodles. So do the quick release on the pressure cooker. From there, you're just going to add in some shredded cheddar cheese, stir it all around so that it gets mixed up nice and good. We served this with some homemade cornbread that I made while this was cooking in the Instant Pot, and a side of steamed broccoli. Also, before I forget, I will put the recipes down in the description since I'm not being specific with measurements or seasonings that you need to add to it. You can check the description and I'll have the recipes down there for you. The last meal that we're going to make is going to be a chicken pot pie soup. This one overlaps a lot of the same ingredients from the potato soup that I made initially. I love recipes like this where you can just overlap a lot of the same ingredients and change it up just a little bit. It really helps you save on your grocery bill and still allows you to have some variety in your meals. So we're starting similar to what we did in the first recipe, except we are going to add some butter to our Instant Pot. To that, we're going to add a diced onion and then some mixed frozen veggies. You would probably usually use the frozen like peas and carrots and green beans. I think sometimes that mixture also has some corn in it. I had these frozen vegetables for a soup. So it had like some peppers in there. It actually already had a little bit of diced potato in it. So it had some different vegetables that you might not typically put into a chicken pot pie, but we used it and it turned out just fine. Just a little more variety in the pot pie mixture. I did go ahead and cut up a couple more potatoes to add into the soup. If you didn't use a frozen vegetable mixture that already had potatoes in it, you might want to add a couple more potatoes to it. So I cooked the frozen vegetables and the diced onions down in some butter on the saute mode on the Instant Pot. Then I just put my chicken thighs, boneless, skinless chicken thighs on top of that, seasoned with some pepper, and poured my chicken broth on top of it. I don't usually add additional salt whenever I'm adding in chicken broth using like the powdered base to make my chicken broth, because those tend to have a lot of sodium in them already. So I don't add salt to my dishes when I'm using that type of broth. I like to wait until the end to see if it needs extra salt added to it. While this was in the Instant Pot cooking, I decided to make some buttermilk biscuits to go with this to really give it kind of the pot pie feel. So I used my homemade buttermilk biscuit recipe that I use all the time. It's so simple. This recipe was actually given to me by my cousin's grandma on her other side of the family. She's been using it for a really long time. It's so simple and tasty and only takes a few minutes to mix the dough up, cut the biscuits out, and throw them in the oven. Again, natural pressure release on this one. Then you want to take your cooked chicken thighs out, shred those up. You can add it back to the pot. To thicken this, I just went ahead and added in a little half and half again. You could do heavy cream, or you could do like a cornstarch slurry to add in there to thicken up the base of it. This was so good with those warm biscuits dipped into that buttery broth in the soup. It was perfect for a cold night, just hanging out at the house. Totally a comfort food meal. That's all I have for y'all today. Thank y'all for watching, and be sure to check the description if you want any of the recipes.